And we're live. Welcome to Music Matters. My name is Jason Tramm. I'm delighted that you could join us for our unique podcast community, where we explore the issues and challenges in 2020 as seen through the eyes of distinguished colleagues. Artists and musicians have faced such incredible adversity this year, but along with that has come incredible innovation and artistic collaborations that are new and exciting. And here on Music Matters, we explore those, and we're delighted that you can join us. Please remember to subscribe on YouTube and hit that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. Like and share our videos on social media, and thank you so much for joining us. Tonight we have a wonderful lyric soprano, Miss Kristin Sampson, who has known for her portrayal of the great Puccini heroines, and we're delighted she can join us. She has sung with New York City Opera. She's sung all over Italy, Santa Fe Opera, Opera Orchestra of New York, Opera Carolina. The list goes on, and a host of wonderful international engagements as well. We're so delighted she could join us. Welcome, Kristin.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. Thank you.
Well, it's such a pleasure, and we've gotten the privilege to work together twice, and such joyous times to make music with a fine artist.
Oh, I feel the same way about you. You're an amazing conductor, and our projects have always been they've always held such a special place in my heart because your audience is fantastic. They absolutely come and support your organization with such enthusiasm, and they know the repertoire. It's really been a treat to be out there.
I always love making opera with great people, and opera is such a collaborative art form to begin with, and when you get to do it with great colleagues, it makes it even more rewarding.
I absolutely agree.
So let's begin with your unique artistic journey. You've been through I guess any performing artist has a path, and love to discuss yours. How did you start? Did you know you wanted to be a singer from a young age?
I did. I actually grew up in Illinois in a town called Bloomington Normal. It's kind of the Twin Cities south of Chicago. I, at a very early age, participated in musical theater and musical theater workshops and all of that. And I was fortunate enough to have an amazing teacher who was also a professor at Illinois Wesleyan University, Sam Cyphers, and he ended up being my very first voice teacher. So it was a very amazing experience at a very early age. So his wife, Mrs. Cyphers, Maxine Cyphers, was my choir director, and God bless them both. They really encouraged us, and I couldn't have been in a better environment to just grow, because it seemed like every time I would want to try something new, they had an opportunity. So it was fantastic. And then when I went to Texas, I had John Hornbeck and Julie Berkner, who were my wonderful team of choral directors. And Julie Berkner gave me some of my early guidance with voice instruction down in Texas, and went to Sam Houston State, did my undergraduate degree there under Dr. Walter Foster, who was an amazing teacher as well. I really have had fantastic instruction. And then my master's degree was at Rice University with Dr. Joyce Farwell, Tom Jaber, Debbie Dickinson. Rice is fantastic for anybody who's thinking about doing that polishing of getting that, master's in opera down there. It's really an amazing place to be. And then I came to New York. And of course, along the way, I did young artist programs with Santa Fe Opera. And I had the privilege at the time, Da Capo Theater was open to be one of their resident artists. And kind of from that point forward, I started to get involved in competitions and take on some roles. And it was maybe from, say, maybe 2004 or 5, moving forward, resident artists, then into, the roles. And that, since that point forward, I've had, either a live broadcast or, for the competition wins, or just really unique performance opportunities. So, that's a very truncated, abbreviated version, but, currently, and I would say for the last, probably almost 10 years, I've been with Diana Soviero as a teacher. And for me, she's exactly what I need. So I couldn't think of anything better. So.
Well, certainly a great mentor and model, someone who's held the great stages of the world and has achieved so much, and she has so much to give, I'm sure.
She is without a doubt an inspiration. And I have to say, during COVID, I know everybody's had their path, and we've talked about unique opportunities or whatever. I had never taken a virtual lesson until COVID. I'd always been in person. And even when I was traveling the world and maybe could get 2 lessons a year or something, when I was actually really being, taken from place to place with the jobs, I would stay out of the studio for a while, not realizing that a Zoom lesson could be an effective method for learning. And of course, with COVID, I learned so much. Nothing else going on. Truly, the stillness and maybe just that ability to focus, but those lessons have been my lifeline. Lessons with her, coachings with Kamal Khan, Catherine Olander, working on, different projects whenever I have the opportunity to. I do have some jobs coming up, provided that, they actually happen down the road. But, I have to say it's been those mentorships with those teachers and coaches that have really kind of gotten me through this,
It's amazing how we've all had to embrace technology to such an incredibly fast degree.
Absolutely.
And the impact that has on our day-to-day life, isn't it?
I think I've always enjoyed technology. I will flat out say that. I've never been afraid of technology. I do have a very deep understanding of technology, but I have embraced it to the point of it is my lifeline now. It really is. I do my coachings with the Zoom or FaceTime or whatever method, talk with friends, make group chats, whatever it is. But you start to really learn how important your colleagues are. You are my tribe. They are my tribe. And I need time with my people. And as much as we're apart, we're together because of technology. So I readily embrace it and do it as quickly as possible. And I try to help people too, who maybe don't understand. So
how long did it take you, and how long did it take your coaches and teachers to adapt to this, to make it work?
Okay. So let's just go back quick, just a real quick timeline. So we found out about COVID, let's say January of this year. I had been reading about it in December, and I actually have maybe not the best immune system. So I started to get my, plastic gloves, my sanitizing wipes, all of the stuff. And it was very clear by February that we had something pretty crazy on the horizon. I don't ever think in my wildest imaginings that I thought it was going to be this, truly, but I knew it was going to be something significant. So I think, and I mean, I know that I sound like probably so many of us, I lost my taste, smell, all of that in March, was sick for 6 weeks then. And I was 90% sure that I had something that was COVID. I can tell you no taste, no smell, and sick. But when we went to do the antibody test, my doctor said, that you may have lost all of your antibodies, because of course I got tested for it way after the fact, because we couldn't get tested, as you will remember.
Yeah, there was no testing back then in the height of and New York City was like ground zero for all this.
It was crazy. And so, I mean, I feel very, very privileged in the fact that when I did get sick, I was isolated, away from people, had time to recover. And it was almost immediately that Diana said to me, would you like to try a Zoom lesson? So it was after I had recovered from, being sick, had the voice, thought, let's try it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what this is. And, initially I'd had minimal experience with a platform called GoToMeeting. And of course they have what is a launcher that, you can do FaceTime or a meeting where everybody goes on camera, but it's not like Zoom, or it's not like FaceTime, or it's not like, we could go through the number of platforms that have now evolved. And with Diana, she said, we can do FaceTime or we can do Zoom. Which do you prefer? And I said, well, whatever we can make work. And we started FaceTiming. And it was brilliant. And it was the most amazing experience for me, because in lessons, let's be really honest, she'll let you sing, you'll work with your pianist, you'll really interpret it. She'll stop, she'll give you suggestions. On a Zoom session, it's you and your teacher. We don't have a pianist involved. Lots of times I'll click out a little part on a keyboard, or if in my apartment, I'll play for myself or whatever, but I'll watch her mouth form that vowel when she demonstrates. And I'll look at it and go, that was and my tongue is going, what is happening? Why am I doing that? But you can see yourself. And it was a different kind of mirror into learning that I had never experienced. And really the same with, working with Kamal or Catherine, both true privileges, let me tell you, Kamal will say something in Italian and I'll say it and I'll realize that my mouth goes horizontal and his mouth does not. It stays beautifully shaped into Italian vowels that mine are not doing, or whatever the case may be. But it's a real opportunity to see and learn the tiny detail that separates you from being, maybe very good to being extraordinary. And, I'm never satisfied. I always want to get better every time I perform a character or a role or whatever. Yes, I love to sing Puccini heroines. You know that. I absolutely do. But the next time I sing Mimi, I want her to have this nuance or this finesse or tell this element of the story. And now that I've had this time, I've been able to work on every role that I have learned in the Puccini canon. I've looked at, again, the Pagliacci. I've looked at the Santuzza. I've looked at, the Adriano Couvre. All of my roles are now very freshly memorized again in my head. We've nitpicked through all of them. And I have used this time so that, when the world is open and they say, oh, well, so-and-so can't make it or whatever, I can jump into 10 roles ready to go. And I feel like that's my responsibility. If I want to do this, I have to be ready, and using this time to do that, and honestly, to try to stay as positive as possible in the process. It at least is the art form. I may not be getting out in front of people and having that social interaction, but at least I'm practicing, and at least I'm taking every opportunity to learn something,
It's so important. I named this. I named your show "The Power of Positive Thinking," and I think people are going to get that sense very quickly.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I really really do try. But just like everybody else, Jason, I mean, I know I can humbly say that there are those days when I'm so sad. I mean, I miss my friends, I miss my colleagues, I miss my music making, I miss the social interaction, the rapport that we have together in even the rehearsal space. I, of course, on Facebook get those, memories on this year of such and such day, you were.
Those are hard. Those are hard. It's like, oh.
Yes, it's especially this year. And, I have to say, I've really found great comfort in reading posts from other colleagues who are feeling the same way. So then I'm like, I'm not alone. Thank God. I'm feeling like I'm going to crawl out the window and I'm super depressed, but I'm not the only one. This one right here feels the same way, or this girl right over here, or whatever it is. And we're able to somehow find this moment of being kindred spirits across bajillion miles or whatever, to commiserate and have this passion and understanding between us of the suffering, because it really is, your soul is hurting. We're not getting to do what we're born to do.
It is gut-wrenching for artists, and I think our industry is probably affected the worst of any in the world. I would think it's up there with some of the worst.
I very well said, in my opinion. I really do agree with you 100%. I mean, in the very next breath, I'm going to say I've been extremely blessed. My family is okay. We've been healthy. I've known lots of colleagues who've lost so much. So, I mean,
we've lost great colleagues. We've lost some great colleagues too.
Oh my God. It's been a horrible year in that regard, but I still choose to know that we will get through this together. I still choose. I am making that choice. And as you said, it is definitely powerful to stay as positive as possible, because that is the thing that, reminds you it's okay to feel bad for 2 seconds, but let's get up, let's go on. This is what you're going to do today. And I literally put, these things together on a list, and I stick to my list, and I practiced my items on my list, and it helps give me the structure and order that I need. So
we have our first question from the audience. Yes. This is from Steve from Chicago, and he asks, what role have you sung the most?
Mimi. I've done, I guess now 15 different performances with different theaters. So probably, I guess that would be like 70 some odd performances of Mimi by the time everything's done. And I love her. And you, wonderful maestro, right there were my most recent Mimi. After that experience, I, just know that she's someone that I absolutely love, and I will endeavor to continue to grow into that, because I feel like the more you do her, the more you learn.
Now, I know whenever I perform a piece I've done many, many times, so I've done like 40 performances of Traviata, for example. Every time I do it, I approach it, and it's like looking at a painting from a different angle. I see something, a corner I didn't realize, a transition, yes, a turn of phrase. What's it like for you approaching someone like Mimi, who you've done so often?
That is absolutely it. And it's the thing to me that is the most important element of any role is the storytelling, the words.
Le parole.
Le parole. Sì, certamente. No, the words. And, when I first took on the beautiful, amazing role of Mimi, I barely spoke Italian. I had a wonderful coach, and God bless her, Diana, as my teacher, who took me through every syllable and helped me understand that they weren't just sounds, but that they were words. And embarrassingly, I will raise my hand and say, I did my homework to make it words. I did my homework to understand the nuance of the language, but I will endeavor every time I open my mouth to make sure that that is the first thing that you notice, that I am telling the story and the words are the key to the story. So that is every time, though, like you said, you strive to make the next nuance of the phrase turn, or be more flirty about a line, or be more seductive about a line, because she's got so many different colors and textures of music and ideas to share. So yes.
It's amazing how the sound and the interpretation of the words changes from act to act.
Yes.
With each character, this one's more dramatic, this one's more lyric. It's amazing how almost changes Fox sometimes these roles.
Yes, they do. And, it's interesting because early on, I had somebody say, "Oh, well, you're an act one this, but maybe not an act three that." And it was, maybe when I was in college or something, growing up. And I never understood that until, maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I thought, well, okay, very good. So I am an act one this, and then, okay. But now I can gratefully say, after doing the technical study that I've done of the voice, that I can sing the role and embody all of it. But as you said, sometimes people think of Mimi's act one being a lighter Mimi than act three Mimi, where she is suffering and she goes to Marcello and she tells him, "Oh, buon Marcello." I mean, that's just the passion, and it
gut-wrenching.
I mean, it is. And the orchestral forces are just really laying
those
into it.
horns are playing away. Yep, those horns make all the difference in the world.
So, I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. You can't back away from that. That is something that is just, I mean, you really get to sing your soul. And it's a gift. I every time I have an opportunity to do that, it's truly a gift.
Well, it's a gift that's been praised by many, including Anthony Tomasini from the New York Times, who called who said about you as bright, sizable, and expressive voice, and that's so true. We worked at it. Your voice just is such a natural Puccini sound. It's got the carrying, but it's also got the depth and the bass of voice, and so much expression. You're so naturally expressive.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I can tell you. Again, I'm going to turn right back to this pandemic since we're talking about this and making the opportunity. I had a little bit of a personal crisis last October before our Bohème, and I had gotten it's hard to talk about really specifically, but I'd had a personal injury as with regard to my female anatomy, and they had changed how I was going to support. And so when I did the Bohème, I was really recovering from that. And I took really from after that Bohème until say let's go into May, really reprogramming my breath, because from what had happened and suffering that type of a surgical procedure, it changed my musculature to where the lower floor of my breath support went away, and I had to re-coordinate everything. But we had a pandemic. So what did that mean? I had my lessons, my weekly lessons, to work with my brilliant teacher who guided me and absolutely informed every bit of the phrasing from top to bottom. So you will never hear that in my sound ever. The work is done, thank God. But it wasn't done in a public way, which is very good. I didn't have to
It's got to be done as an artist in the studio, in your practice sessions. Yeah.
But so, that side of it was, a nice challenge that I was able to kind of to work out. But it has now made it so that when I approach any role, of course, the Puccini repertoire, the colors that are threaded from out the sound, there's no top, it's just a column of sound, and I can facilitate and do whatever I want to for all the colors, the pianissimi, fortissimo, whatever it is. And I will never take that for granted again. It always used to just be so easy and I'd never think about it. I will never take that for granted again.
It's amazing being, I was a singer growing up, and I was trained as a singer, and I love singers. That's why being around singers is so natural for me.
Right.
And just to breathe with singers and feel the singers' breaths. And I feel like this, I always I get nervous for singers when they approach the high notes. I think with them, I know what the challenges
absolutely.
are. And it's true that you've got to sing through allergies and sickness and illness and physical challenges, and you've got to negotiate that, and your voice changes throughout your years in your career.
Absolutely.
I've had older singers on the show, people who are at the end, who've been in the career a long time, and they talk about every 7 years your voice basically changes. Your technique may stay the same, but things evolve slightly.
I completely agree with that, and at least in my experience, and I will not say dogmatically for everybody, this is the way it is, but in very humble experience, that fits my mold. I, came out of college. Traviata was the role that I would sing everywhere. And I absolutely loved singing Violetta. And I can still sing Violetta. It's something that I absolutely love. However, really and truly, if I go into something like that, again, I have to be vigilant about my breath. It is not the same instrument taking on a violetta now that would also take on, say, a mini, or, I sing both at liu and Turandot. So, I am able to kind of do both of those, and I have to sing them with my voice, my way, breath support, the whole bit. But if I were to sing liu, say 10 years ago, and sing liu now, it's just different. All the things that, and maybe some of it's life experience. I don't know. I would say maybe, your emotions and your life experience helps season what it is that you can bring emotionally. Maybe some of it's that, but I also think physiologically, hormones play into it. Just the breath coordination, all of those things factor into whatever changes and are happening with the voice, and you have to stay on top of it. I think it's just our responsibility. It's our job.
Brian Jade on the yesterday's show was saying that the things you can get away with your 20s, when you get into your 30s and 40s, you can't get away with the thing. The musculature is different. It changes, and you really have to be on your technique and your breath every moment.
Yes, and yes. And I don't know. I'm never going to complain, because I definitely find it a wonderful challenge to, pick up for example, like I said, I wanted to review some of the roles during this pandemic that I hadn't looked at in a long time. Santuzza was one of them. Madame Butterfly, Manon Lescaut, all of these roles that I've sung, but I haven't done them in, say, 5 to 7 years. So I opened up Butterfly, and I was like, oh, that's how that butterfly pianissimo was supposed to be before Cynthia. Oh, Uma, oh, so that's supposed to stay here. Oh, now, and I remember having a conversation with my teacher, and she was just laughing at me, and she was like, yes, Kristin, yes, that's what we were trying to tell you. And, so I have to now kind of just, I mean, what an amazing thing that I've had the opportunity to pick these ladies back up and go through these roles. But I mean, really, it is a different discipline. You really do have to look back through them and figure out where the voice is going to go and how it's going to guide you, the breath,
What do you think about the idea of, is humility important to being a singer, to being a performing artist?
I believe it is. I think there's two parts to that. Okay, you absolutely have to know what it is that you bring to the table. So having a degree of confidence and knowing yourself is just as important as being humble and appreciating those around you, in my opinion. There are plenty of colleagues that I've met who are the most beautiful humans, and they are humble beyond word and talented beyond measure, truly. And they understand what they bring. They know their wares without a huge explanation. I would like to do that. I endeavor to do that. Know what I bring, but always be grateful for truly every opportunity, because I feel like then it just kind of keeps you humble and helps you focus on what it is that we're doing, as opposed to being egotistical and losing track of what's important, because it's the storytelling that's important. Do you know? At the end of the day, it's the music.
I feel the same way when I approach a Puccini score. He gives you so much on the page, and it takes a lifetime to figure out how to actually do everything and to include, and then to be in the moment with the singers. So it's so rehearsed and important, but then it's got to be in the moment at the same time. That's the magic of it.
I completely agree. And if you have somebody who, and I don't mean this at all for any reason, just to give a simple definition. If somebody is too egotistical and they have no humility, it becomes about bending people to their whim, as opposed to doing the storytelling that's on the page. And I would much rather bring the story alive, as opposed to somehow being beaten to submission with somebody else's whatever. Does that make any sense to you?
Very well said. Very well said. And you embody that. It's about the art. It's about the art. It's about the music and about the storytelling. And that's Very important being a good colleague, I think. So tell me about the era of COVID. You've taken this time to focus on your technique, to focus on repertoire, to practice and study. And I've talked about this in a couple of the shows. It takes a whole team to build that. And you were talking about the teacher,
Absolutely.
the coaches, the friends, the support system, colleagues. What's it like to be a part of how do you build that support system? It's so important to being a successful singer.
Well, you said it so wonderfully in kind of the introduction. It's a COVID community. I mean, as much as I would like to say, my parents, who are wonderful people, understand exactly what I'm going through, and not being able to sing a performance of, say, Bohème. They don't know what it's like to be on stage. You do. My other singing colleagues do. They know what it is, the absence, the loss, the heart-wrenching, as you said, the feeling of what we're missing right now. We get it. And it's not that other people don't necessarily want to have compassion about it, but we need our tribe. So yes, I have built what I would consider a team, and I have some friends that I almost consider, instrumental in terms of moral support that I talk with either on Facebook or on the phone or WhatsApp or whatever. But, Diana obviously is my foundation. She's my teacher. And having that, it gives me that touchstone. So I know I have, on such and such day, such and such time, this lesson coming up, and I will practice and I will prepare and I will get all of my to-do list of things done. I know if I have an opportunity to work with Kamal, I know that I need to focus on these things to make sure that my language is, and that it's this, and I go into it with the mindset of, or if I'm working with Catherine and we're doing the repetiteur type things and we're going to look at these pieces, pull the music, make sure that it's in my head. But it's a team experience at this point. It's probably always been a bit of a team, but at the same time, maybe now even more so, because we're so far apart and yet brought together for very specific things. And having the opportunity to listen to your show, to listen to Karen Slack, to listen to, there have been lots of
Kenny Overton, lots of great people.
Overton, yep. Yes, that have been brilliant at doing either these wonderful conversations with colleagues, or, Jen Raleigh gave some amazing master classes. I loved sitting in and listening to what she was saying to these singers and see them inspired by getting these words of wisdom. I can't stress enough how I applaud the growth of other people. But, it has been this time where we make opportunities now to find whatever it is in your day-to-day, to find the art form, whether it be in listening to a podcast, participating in a podcast, cheering others on Facebook, watching the Instagram videos, doing whatever it is. That is my artistic space right now. Stefanos, for example, who was in our Bohème, Teatro Grattacielo has amazing, the fedora that they put out, fan-freaking-tastic. If people want to see something wonderful, watch it. It is spectacular.
Stefanos is the only guest who's been on our show twice. He was on the first episode ever of the show, and also to promote his fedora.
Right, and it's worth promoting. It's delightful.
Absolutely,
it really, really was wonderful. But that's how we're getting to experience the art form right now. You said it earlier to me privately. Perhaps it's not the same as being together in the space with the orchestra, but it is what we have for now. And right now it's my lifeline. Build that.
Well, it's so important. We have to embrace what's there, right? We have to embrace what's possible.
Yes.
So we can plan what's going to be the next chapter.
Absolutely.
Now you're a great person to ask this about what's the next chapter. What might that look like? Because not only are you a wonderful lyric soprano and spinto soprano, bordering on dramatic, going that direction. You also do a lot of arts administration as well. Isn't that correct?
Yeah. Yes, I have had the distinct privilege of working with New York City Opera, and during the hiatus, obviously the opera has been very diligent about trying to do some fundraising, about trying to honor programming, do grants, and plan for the future. And, down the road, I know they've already announced, and it's now finding the timing. I respect the governor. I respect, the mayor in New York. They are keeping us safe. But the best laid plans for us have meant saying, this is going to happen when, and this is going to happen. So I know there down the road will be an opportunity for people to hear The Garden of the Finzi Continis, which will be a world premiere by Ricky Ian Gordon, and it will be spectacular. And I can't stress enough how much Michael Corey's text it brings to it. It's going to be a magnificent piece, and I can tell you down the road they're going to have an opportunity to experience Anthony's music. I'm thinking of it right now, and it's the opera that was part of, oh my goodness, I can't believe the name of it's eluding me right now, but it's Anthony Baker. Oh my goodness, let's see here. Give me just 1 second. I'm actually looking it up because my brain is.
I'm a huge Ricky and Gordon fan. That's amazing.
Oh, it's. That will definitely, I mean, his music is both gentlemen, their music, we're very fortunate to have some amazing opera coming up.
And New York City Opera has really been an innovator in presenting new and interesting and socially conscious works, really doing great work in that regard.
Well, I thank you for saying that. And I really, long before people, had said that they felt like this, that, or the other thing was important, they were trying to pick titles that represented the diversity of New York City. And oh my gosh, I can't believe I couldn't remember that title. It's the Central Park Five. And of course, that's Anthony Davis with Richard Wesley's, I'm very sorry, Hang's Head. Nonetheless, the company, though, on the whole, has done amazing things. And, our last performance that was really like full scale was, of course, Stonewall, which was Ian Bell and Mark Campbell's world premiere of what would, in my opinion, be one of the most important operas that arrived during 2019. So nonetheless, I don't know what to tell you about timing, but we wait. We humbly.
It's a mystery to us all. I didn't think you'd have the answer to that one, but I think it's great to hear that you guys are deep in the planning process.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks like there's going to be some summer park performances. Bryant Park has been a wonderful partner with us, and I don't really think that timing for that is going to be way out of line if things are moving forward with the proper social distancing and vaccinations and everything else. They just did a caroling out at the Winter Park and Bryant Park, and I'm thinking probably for the summer those opportunities will be available to people in New York to go and attend. But here again, it's nothing set in stone.
We're going to keep our fingers crossed that these great opportunities can happen, that the Parks concerts, which have been so beautiful. I've been to a couple of, they're so wonderful, the great celebrations of art and music, and people just love it to hear, anyone can hear the music, and it's really music for the people. It's great for City Opera.
We did one of my very favorites was probably the 75th anniversary concert, and so many people from the history of New York City Opera were able to come and perform, which was awesome to be a part of. But for me, on a very personal level, it was looking out and seeing, like they said, it was somewhere in the number of about 5,000 people who attended that. Ooh. And when you think of New York City on a summer night, and you watch those people just come in as their day, and they start to file in, and of course it was before COVID, of course, but it was magical. And to hear them, it was like them attending a football game. They went bananas for it. And that's the way I wish everybody could do. They could, continue to cheer and enjoy and all of that. So
now, you've performed quite a lot in Italy. Isn't that more like the Italian approach to opera? It's much more, it's not as staid. It's much more like almost like a soccer match. It's like a football match.
It is. And of course it's their native language. So everybody knows what you're singing about. And this music, I misspoke. This music is music that they grew up with. It's part of their lifeline. So I have to say very, very humbly, I getting to sing La Fanciulla del West in Teatro del Giglio, which was the home of theater of Puccini, it pinched me. I still can't believe it happened. It was one of the most important performances of my life because, I was on stage and, the main intendant of the theater comes to me and he says, this is where he sat. This is Puccini's box. And I just stood there. I thought,
smokes.
what am I going to say? What am I going to say? I couldn't even think of a comeback and my eyes just started to well up with tears. And I thought, okay, hold it together. I was without words. I mean, that's where he sat. That is where he sat. Amazing.
Now you also performed at Torre del Lago. That's also very, very special for the Puccini world.
And that was again, Claudio Ferri was instrumental in helping line up that performance for me. And it was under the direction of the Puccini Festival was run by Maestro Veronese, and I completely am grateful to him for the opportunity. But it oh my goodness. That again was one of the most important moments of my life. I was on the stage of Torre del Lago looking out at, what would be people who are screaming bananas for Tosca. And my name was Tosca. I mean, it was one of the most important moments of my life. It was a great experience, but for me, probably on a very personal note, it was one of the moments where I felt like I was looking up right before we, at the end of the opera. And of course, I've told Mario that we have to go into the ruse or whatever. I remember the set was being moved and I was standing there and I looked up and it was a full moon and I could see it hitting the lake and I could see the scaffolding. And I was like, I kind of had to just take that moment and soak it up. It was really a gift. So anyway.
So beautiful.
Yes, truly. And again, in Italy, it's as if it's, just their blood. It is so important to them that they get to hear the operas of Puccini. And the operas of Verdi, Puccini, anything in Italian, of course, is magic.
I got another question from the audience. This is from Samantha from Long Island. She asks, did the musical theater you grew up with as a kid, how does that figure into your performing today?
Funny you should ask. I absolutely love, first of all, I still love musical theater. 100%. I went off to college and I really thought I was going to be a Broadway girl. I was a mover, never a dancer, a mover. And I had a fantastic opportunity at Sam Houston State. They have a great musical theater department. And at the time I was there, I was, very active in doing both the music department and the drama department. So it was really great experience. But then I got dropped off a platform and I tore tendons in my left ankle. And that kind of made that so that, my high kicks were down to, a minimum for a while. And, my voice teacher said, you're really good in this wonderful classical, musical theater style. Would you be interested in trying, really to consider what your voice would do in opera? And he said, you're going to be able to always go back to musical theater if that is what you love. But I really think if you study and really, really study, well, meaning the languages, the style, all of that, Dr. Foster, brilliant, you may find a way. And I thought, okay, let's try it, but I didn't know what I signed up for really until I would say much later in life, and understanding the discipline that is required. Just because you have the facility vocally, just because you have even maybe the disposition or the look or whatever, none of that matters if you don't have the discipline. And that was a very tough lesson that, I had to learn, and one of my teachers, even in college, he was really tough on me. He said to me, you won't find success. It was Dr. King. I'll never forget it. He said, you will never find success unless you figure out how to have some discipline. And I thought, oh, I have discipline. No.
And that's why those teachers are so important. Those teachers and mentors, is for the young people out there who might be listening, is finding those teachers and finding those mentors and listening and learning and absorbing and then applying.
Well, Maestro, like you say, you've studied the Puccini score how long? How many times? I mean, and you find new nuances. It's not just done just because you learn the notes. I mean, just because you learn the rhythms, just
If
because
only.
you learn, it is that's not even really step one, and I think that, to any young singer taking on a role, there is much more to the process. But going back to her question, Broadway music informs me for opera because Broadway is telling stories. I learned to tell stories in Broadway, and that has 100% transferred over to what I endeavor to bring to every operatic performance. I never want somebody to be bored. I want them to know 100% of the time when I am singing, whatever it is that I'm singing, that I am telling a story, and that they can tell from what I'm really doing, either physically with my face or my body or just even the sound, that this is a story and I am connected to the words and I am communicating hopefully something purposeful, but that's, I believe in my heart, how I've been able to tie the two together.
And I have to ask, which was your favorite role you sang in high school?
Well, I would probably say Louisa in Fantastics, the girl, Juliet, yes, dear, all, I could probably do it all. That's kind of between that and Maria in West Side Story. Those two, for me, really kind of set me on a path to really fall in love with the art form.
Started the process. Yep. I was Charlie in Brigadoon. I love that show.
It's a great piece. It's a great show.
I'm a high, light lyric tenor, and it was the perfect role for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think any person who loves Broadway, who loves that type of storytelling, really will find Verdi, Puccini. There's some very accessible storylines and those composers, the way that they use the libretti to put their music together. So.
Well, Kristin, thank you so much. So how can people find out more about your work?
Well, if you want to follow me on social media, you can very easily do that on Instagram, on Twitter, I'm obviously on Facebook. My website, of course, KristinSampson.com. And I always do try to put out announcements on the website when I've got, an upcoming project. I will say during COVID, I tried not to do really any updates because it was something where I was putting an update and having to take it down and putting up an update. And so until this all kind of maybe settles, the website will kind of end up looking a little like it hasn't been updated in a while, just because it was so difficult. And I'm sure you understand what I mean. It really breaks your spirit to say, okay, well, that one's gone. Okay, that job's gone. Okay. But aside from that, definitely please, the website would be the best.
Well, things will open up, and all that hard work you've put in and all that diligence is going to come into play, and I can't wait to see you on the stage and to work with you again.
Oh, Maestro, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. I'm so grateful. This has been very fun.
Thank you for joining us on Music Matters. Please remember to subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that bell icon for the most up-to-date information on upcoming guests and topics. Our next guest is tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We have Jonathan Scott, who's a permanent member of the Metropolitan Opera Chorus and a wonderful art baritone as well. And hope you can join us. And remember, keep music alive. Good night.